Yo, what is up, podcast world, podcast people? Thank you for tuning in to another episode. Glad you're listening or watching today, whatever you're doing, listening or watching. But if you're watching, then technically you're watching and listening at the same time. And if you're just listening, then appreciate you just listening. Cause we got this available. It's on YouTube, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. So you could watch and listen at the same time. You can just watch and mute us, I guess. You could just watch us on YouTube and not listen and try to be a professional lip reader. I don't know how well that would work. So appreciate you watching, listening, whatever you're doing, whatever you're at. Welcome to another episode. It's gonna be a great day. Because my boys, Michigan State Spartans, pulled out the dub today in the round of 64 for March Madness. So if anybody with the bracket knows what I'm talking about with March Madness, got your brackets out. They definitely got busted. There was some big upsets last night. Shout out Arizona, appreciate you. Shout out Virginia for taking that L as well and not knowing what you're doing, just throwing up a dumb pass. So if you guys know what I'm talking about, March Madness, it's a thing. But today we're talking about our purpose. It's a very cliche thing to say and try to do, especially in the our Christian culture. Following Jesus. Like, man, you just gotta find your purpose, find your calling. Right? Like that's a cliche phrase we say a lot. Like, man, you just need to find your calling. You need to find your purpose. Just start praying more, and you're gonna find your calling. I think we overcomplicate. Well, actually, I don't think. I know because the fact that we're even talking about this right now about how to find your purpose or calling. We're gonna deconstruct that a little bit and just in a nice way dumb it down. Because I know we overcomplicate it. Like that phrase like, "Hey, bro, you need," or "Hey, girl." I don't know, bro, dude, dudette, sister, bro, what up, girl, what up, dude, whatever it is, student, fellow, brethren and sisterin in Christ. Whoever, you need to find your calling. You need to find your purpose, especially after you make a big change in your season of life. Like, hey, some big moves. You just graduated high school. You're starting to get into college. You're in the first or second year in college, or maybe you just graduated college, or maybe you just got engaged, or maybe you just got your first big boy or big girl job, and now you got adult money. Like, every time you make this big kind of move in life to a next season, it's still that same question, like, what am I doing in my life? Like, God, I just need to find my purpose. I need to find my calling. I need to do that. And then we compare, right? We compare ourselves with other people, and we see other people. We're like, hey, this person found their calling. This person found their purpose. Like, the way they're just living life right now, they just found their purpose. And then we compare ourselves with them, whether if it's a job status, a relationship status, maybe a spiritual status in a sense. We're comparing our Jesus walk with their walk, and we're like, man, they found their purpose. They found their calling. What am I doing? And then we compare ourselves, and then we start to just feel like bums pretty much. We're like, man, what am I doing with my life? I don't know my purpose. I don't know my calling. I'm just gonna run around. So today I want to deconstruct that a little bit and figure out what Jesus says about it, because he actually does talk about it, which is kind of cool. Shout out to you, Jesus. Appreciate you. Like Jesus, Bible Jesus, not like my friend named Jesus, but like Bible Jesus, red letters Jesus. I think we put so much pressure. Actually, I know, man, we put so much pressure on trying to find our purpose or calling that it causes us to fumble the ball in a way. Like, it causes us to get paralyzed, or it causes us to compare ourselves with other people, to where we're like, man, I don't know what I'm doing right now, so I'm just gonna take this job that I don't really like, just to stall a little bit. Or I'm gonna go back to school. I'm gonna go start taking classes in college because I have all this pressure around me of people telling me what to do, to find my purpose, to find my identity, to find my calling. So now I'm gonna go to school for 2, 3, 4 years just to kill time and buy time, and not really address that. But I'm just gonna do it to stall time. So maybe in 4 years I'll figure it out, or I'm just gonna get a job that I don't like to get people off my back to figure it out. We put so much pressure around. Dude, find your calling, find your purpose. You got to find your purpose. We take that drastic side. Like Christians, we take two drastic sides. We take that very drastic side of, you got to find it, you got to know it. And if you don't know it, then you're screwed. We take that drastic side, Or we take the total opposite side and say, you know what, man, it doesn't even matter. You can just do what you want. You don't need a purpose. You don't need an identity. You don't need a calling, quote unquote. And you can just live life the way you want it. Live your truth. Do your thing. It doesn't matter about the Bible or Jesus or identity. Identify as what you want. You do your thing. Live your life. YOLO, bro. Do your thing. And we take these two drastic sides. Both sides leave us getting hurt. Right? I can testify to that. I got hurt. Not physically hurt. I didn't hurt myself physically, but financially, emotionally, mentally. Man, I remember I graduated high school in 2018. School wasn't really my thing, but it was this question of, man, all right, I just graduated high school. What am I doing with my life? What is my purpose? What am I doing with my life? And I had no idea. I knew I wanted to be in ministry a little bit. I didn't know exactly what that looked like at the time. But I knew I wanted to be in ministry a little bit, and I was working in ministry like part-time, like 12 hours a week. Very little dinero. That means money for all my non-Spanish speaking people. Very little dinero. But I remember I graduated high school in 2018. No idea what I wanted to do with my life, but that doesn't stop the questions from coming. Right? There's, especially when you graduate, you got grandmas and aunts you never seen. You got some old ladies at church. They're like, "Oh, congratulations! You just graduated high school. What are you doing with your life? Or what's your plan? What's your 5-year plan or your 4-year plan?" I don't know. That's not how an old lady talks, but that's just how I imagine it and how it felt. um, LOL. But I graduated high school in 2018. Didn't go to college right out of high school. Then I went to a technical college in 2019. I went to a technical college doing something not in ministry. My heart was in ministry, but I went to a technical college for building and construction. That lasted 2 semesters. Then I dipped out of that. But still, like for a whole year, or actually it was a year and a half, because 2019, you graduate in the spring of 2018. But it was like a whole year and a half for me of trying to figure out, man, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? What's my purpose? What's my calling? What am I supposed to do? Praying, seeking, like, okay, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? Because I had this pressure built around me to do that, whether if it's other people's opinions, other people's ideas, parents saying, hey, go to college, 4-year thing, go to school, get a job, start paying for stuff, you're an adult, let's grow up. Like all this pressure around, what are you doing with your life? What's your purpose? And I had this mindset of it has to be one specific thing, like my purpose, my calling. And if you if you're watching on not if you're watching if you're listening on Spotify, or Apple Podcast, every time I say calling, I'll put it in quotes, because I think that word everybody has a different meaning when they say calling. So don't feel like I don't know. But purpose, or I feel like I had one specific, like it was a very small bullseye. And if I didn't hit that bullseye, then I missed it, because of all this pressure built up around it that society and our culture and our generation just puts on it. Like, hey, once you move into this stage of life, here's the next thing, and then make sure you go do this, make sure you go do that. All at the same time, trying to hit this little bullseye of what is my purpose. Because you can have a job, you can go to school, just to kill time. That's what I did, just to kill time, to try to stall a little bit till I had an answer of, okay, this little bullseye is my purpose. But then I realized that bullseye, that small little bullseye, to where if I missed it, then I was screwed. It actually didn't exist. Like that small bullseye, I think we make that in our head. We think, hey, I got to find my purpose. I got to find my calling. And it's this really tiny bullseye on the target, to where if we shoot and if we miss that bullseye, then we're SOL. Like, we're not good. We missed it. We're a disappointment. We failed. Nobody loves us. But this bullseye is something I just made up in my mind, pretty much. The bullseye is just something I made up in my mind, because I felt like I just had so much pressure to do it. And so first, man, if anybody's listening out there, hope you guys listen. If you're still watching or listening, let's go team. One, don't let that pressure get to you, right? If you're in this stage of life, maybe you just graduated high school, maybe you're in college, maybe you're like, maybe not in school, but you're kind of around that college age, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. I don't know. People go to college till they're, 50 something, 60 something. If you're in that stage of life, like, hey man, what is my purpose? And we're trying to figure that out. Don't hurt yourself by chasing other things just to stall, right? Because that's where we get hurt. Like, I'm going to go and chase this degree. I'm going to go back to school to kill time. I'm going to take this job to kill time. Don't go and chase things just to stall and to run away from it, right? Because that's where we get hurt. That's where we start going. We start taking out student loans. We start getting in an unhealthy workplace. We start taking out student loans. We rack up credit cards just to kill time and stall time because we don't know what our purpose is or our calling, quote unquote. So now we're going to look at what Jesus says about finding our purpose. Like, what is our purpose? What is our calling to do? Because I think what Jesus says, it blows that little bullseye to pieces. Like, it makes this tiny little bullseye a huge target that ain't nobody can miss. Ain't nobody, dadgum Yibo, that ain't nobody can miss. This is what Jesus says. Well, first, these people are having a conversation with Jesus. The people that are having that conversation with Jesus are the people that Jesus fed the 5,000. He took the loaves of bread and the fish and fed 5,000 people. These are the people that are talking to Jesus right now. And this is in John chapter 6, verse 27 through like 29. It says this. Jesus is talking right here, verse 27. Do not work for the food that perishes, but for the food that endures eternal life, which the Son of Man, talking about Jesus, which the Son of Man will give to you. For on him God the Father has set his seal. So Jesus says, do not work for food that perishes, but work for food that has eternal life. And then they said to him, well, what must we do to be doing the works of God? And that's a question we all ask, right? So what do I have to do to be doing the works of God? What is my purpose? What is my calling to be doing the works of God? God, what do you want me to do? Right? We ask ourselves that question. We ask our friends that question. We're trying to figure it out. We're going through life. We're going to school. We're getting jobs. We're stalling. We're trying to kill as much time as possible to figure out the answer to that question of, God, what is the work that you want me to do? What is my purpose? What is my calling? Could we have this tiny little mindset bullseye that we have to hit of it? And then this is what Jesus says in response to that. This is the work of God. So this is the work of God. This is your purpose. This is the calling, that you may believe in him who he has sent. Point blank, period. So these people ask Jesus, man, what is the work of God? What is the purpose? And then Jesus says, this is the work of God, that you believe in him who he sent. He's talking about Jesus because God sent his son, Jesus. So Jesus is like, hey, this is the work of God. Believe in me. That is your purpose. That is your calling, to believe in Jesus. And that's like super broad, right? It's not this tiny little bullseye that we have to hit. This is my purpose. This is my calling. That's broad. That is a big statement, right? That is like foundation level stuff. Like, hey, this is your purpose. This is your calling. This is your identity. Believe in Jesus. Boom. And then once you do that, man, you're fulfilling your purpose. You're fulfilling your calling. And that can play out in a million different ways, right? Because once you start believing in Jesus, now you're going out and being the light of the world, still fulfilling your purpose. Now you're going out and making disciples. That is a fruit of you fulfilling your purpose. You're making disciples. You're being a light. You're spreading the word. You're showing love. That is you fulfilling your purpose and calling. It may not be cute. It may not be sexy. It may not look flashy and look great. But when we're flipping burgers at McDonald's, being a light, that is fulfilling your purpose. When you're praying for people that you don't even know, you're fulfilling your purpose, because it goes down to this foundation level is that, hey, the work of God is to believe in Jesus. That's what Jesus said. That's not my opinion. That's red letters. Jesus said that, so don't shoot me. Jesus said that, like, hey, this is the purpose. This is the calling. Believe in me. And that's going to play out in a million different ways. That's going to play out at school, right? Hey, you're in your classrooms in school. Be a light. Go and make disciples. Go be a leader. Go start doing ministry. You don't need a fancy title to do it. Just go do it, right? Like, that is foundation level stuff. And then we can take all this other stuff that we're worried about, like, man, well, Josh, like, yeah, that sounds cool. That sounds very Jesus-y, right? Because I know what you're saying. I can already picture the counter argument taking place. Like, yeah, Josh, that sounds cool. I'm a Christian. I believe in Jesus. That doesn't help me decide if I should go to school or not, or get a job or not, or do this or do that. Like, that doesn't really narrow it down for me. Well, that's because he gives us some free will to choose a little bit, right? I think once you establish that foundation level of, hey, you got Jesus, you're believing in Jesus, then from that, you're abiding in him, then comes a little bit of peace. So first we can just breathe. Take the lid off the pot and relieve the pressure of whatever it is you're freaking out about, hey, I got to find my purpose and my calling. Take the lid off the pot and let's take out the pressure, right? Because once we have Jesus, that means we got some peace, love, joy, peace. It's the fruit of the Spirit. And then once really we start praying and we start seeking, we ask, like Jesus says, hey, ask, seek, and knock. We got that open invite to ask him, like, hey, God, like, what am I supposed to do? What do you want me to do? What's your will? Okay, now we start doing that. But then if we look, let's get another little Bible nug. Revelation 3:7 says, God opens doors no man can shut, and he shuts doors no man can open. That's a characteristic of God, that he opens doors no man can shut, and he shuts doors no man can open. So it's like, okay, let me go and start testing stuff out. Like, hey, I have this passion. I have this desire for this career path. I have this desire for this schooling. I have this desire to not go to school. I have this desire for this, relationship. I have this desire for this ministry path. Whatever that is, like, hey, what do you have this desire about? Go and test it out. Not recklessly, not in sin, not in like a worldly, sinful way. Go and test it out. But like walk in wisdom and say, hey, all right, God, I have this desire. Now let me go test it out. God, if this is of you, if this is a purpose that you want me to fulfill, I pray you continue to open that door. And if it's not, shut that door. God, I pray you shut that door. And it's a door that no man can open, that no matter how hard I try to pursue the job or school or grade or relationship, that you shut that door. Because it's a door that no matter how hard I try to open, it's a door that you've shut. So with this idea of, man, I got to find my purpose and my calling and my identity, one, take the pressure off. Take the lid off the pot and relieve the pressure. Relief? Y'all, I don't know that word. I failed English a couple times in high school. But take the lid off the pot and get rid of the pressure, right? Because Jesus said, hey, this is the work of God, to believe in me. Believe in Jesus. That's the work of God. Foundation, level, baseline. And then from that, we're abiding fruits of the Spirit, love, joy, and peace. Maybe we're anxious, but we can seek peace a little bit. So take the pressure off. Finding your purpose and your calling is not this one tiny little bullseye that you have to hit. And then if you don't hit that bullseye, then you missed it, right? He said, hey, your purpose, your calling is to believe in Jesus. Go and make disciples. Go be a light of the world. You don't need to be a pastor to do it. You don't even need to work at a church to do it. You can go to, you can hit up Walmart right now in the candy aisle and tell somebody about Jesus. You know what I'm saying? You can go anywhere. You can go to Bojangles. You can go to Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A, you might have better luck, Jesus chicken. But just take the pressure off yourself. Please hear me when I say this. Don't let the pressure get to you about, hey, I got to find my purpose and my calling. I have this burden. I don't really know what to do. People are asking me questions. Don't let that pressure get to you to where you start making unwise decisions that are going to hurt you later. Like, hey, now I'm just going to go back to school to kill time. I'm just going to go get this job to make people stop talking. I'm just going to date this person so people stop asking if I'm single. Like, don't let that pressure get to you. Please don't. Like, just take the lid off the pot, relieve the pressure, and say, hey, look, man, I'm fulfilling my purpose right now. Maybe other people may not see it, but I'm rocking with Jesus. I'm being the light of the world. I'm making disciples. I'm fulfilling my purpose. Like, let's go. I got peace. So I would say walk with that. Like, walk in wisdom with that and go and test stuff out in wisdom. Not in a reckless way, but in wisdom. Go and test stuff out. Like, hey, if you think you're supposed to take this job, go apply for it. If you think you're supposed to go back to school, go back to school. If you think you're supposed to drop out, pray over it really, really hard. Seek wise counsel, then drop out. Like, go and test it. Another Bible nug for you about testing, right? This is Romans 12, starting in verse 2. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. So do not be conformed to this world. Don't go out and do what the world does when they feel pressured about my identity and calling. Man, I can do whatever I want. It doesn't matter what God says. I can call myself what I want. I don't need a truth. I can live my truth. YOLO. Hashtag not dope. But do not be conformed by this world. Don't cave into that pressure and just go and live recklessly, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. But this is the best part, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. Bro, I mean, come on. Do not be conformed to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God. So that by testing you may discern what is the will of God. Like, y'all, the Bible actually makes sense and gives us advice for our life. Who knew that by testing, like, hey, okay, God, what is my purpose, my calling, my identity? Okay, well, first, your identity should be in Christ. Let's take that off the table. What is my purpose? What is my calling? Okay, I think is this, and I have a passion for this job or relationship or school or what, whatever it fits for you. I have that passion for it. Okay, let me go test it. So that by testing means action words. Get up off the couch, get up off the sidelines, get in the game, so that you may discern, you may figure it out. What is the will of God, and it is good and acceptable, bro. Get off the sidelines, right? Don't complain about, man, I don't know my purpose. I don't know my calling. I don't know this. I don't know that. And we're just sitting on the sidelines, right? Let's get off the couch. Let's get off the sidelines. Let's get in the game. And that by testing, we can discern the will of God. He's a God that opens doors no man can shut, and he's a God that shuts doors no man can open. Man, I'm getting fired up today. I don't know if you guys can hear the passion, man. I'm getting fired up over this. But anybody listening, man, don't let that pressure get to you. I know it's hard. I lived it. I let the pressure get to me, and I went to school and wasted money because I just, that purpose word, we make that so idolized. Like, hey, you got to find your purpose, find your calling, and then we idolize it so much, and it's that tiny little bullseye. Y'all, it's not a tiny little bullseye. I don't know how more clear I can be. I promise you, it is not a tiny little bullseye to where if you miss this bullseye, then you missed out on the big picture, right? Jesus said, hey, just believe in the one that God sent. Believe in Jesus. That's the will of God. And then by testing, we can discern. Let's go and test that door. Is it open? Is it closed? Like, man, let's do it. Thank you for listening to our episode today. If anything, you just heard me rant a little bit. Hopefully you guys may be able to relate to my life and my situation about how, college, it wasn't my route. And I caved into the pressure a little bit and I stalled. But it costs money, college isn't cheap. Credit cards, student loans, it's not cheap. So maybe you can relate to my life a little bit, man. Just anybody out there, if it's just one person, that's a win for me. That just take the pressure off, take the lid off the pot, take the pressure off about trying to find your purpose and your calling, and just start focusing on Jesus, right? Focus on Jesus. Start testing some things out. Maybe, I don't know, live it. It'll be great for you. But appreciate you guys listening today. Check out some other episodes of some other conversations that we talked about. We're on episode 24. Man, we don't know what we're doing. We're figuring out as we go, but we made it to 24 episodes. Let's go. So we got 23 other episodes you guys can listen to with some other people on it. They're pretty awesome. Follow us on Instagram at 3 Strands Group. And also follow our Instagram podcast so you don't miss out on other episodes. Adios. Appreciate you guys. Have a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you're listening to this. Have a blessed one.